Welcome to Vienna. Guten Morgen in Wien. Einen wunderschönen Tag wünsche ich.
A very good day for all our guests.
I wish you all here in Vienna. On behalf of the Austrian Ministry of Transport, the ÖBB and Russian Railways, it is my great pleasure to welcome you here at the first International Railway Congress at the headquarters of the Wirtschaftskammer Österreich. I hope that you all had an enjoyable weekend and a wonderful welcome reception last night, for those of you who had the chance to be part of it already. And I do hope as well that you are energized and nothing but curious about what the next 2 days will bring. And of course, for all those of you who had to travel to Vienna, I hope you had a pleasant journey and will enjoy the stay in the city, which is also the right word. Vienna is not only in Vienna in Austria, was not randomly chosen by the organizers for the first conference to what is the first of a series of international railway congresses, because the region has a long history as a crossroad of long-distance trade routes and will once again become a gateway for the great land routes to Asia. So when I look here down, I see a lot of people standing besides the seats, and I just want to tell you on behalf of the organizers, whoever couldn't find a seat, we can tell you there is more space in another room. There are also screens, and the room is the conference room number 6 on the first floor. So please, I would really like to invite you to find a seat there if you want to sit during this morning. So, to build something new is always exciting and exhausting at the same time. But to be part of it, like you are today, to be part of something new is even better. Observe yourself as the lucky ones, the first attendees of this Congress that will be launched today. As you probably know, these 2 days in Vienna open up with a new tradition. The International Railway Congress is going to be the largest business meeting of its kind and will be attended by some 500 senior managers of rail companies and related industries, as well as suppliers and customers with an interest primarily in long-distance cargo transport by rail. And we are very proud to welcome you all that are participants from over 25 different countries and representatives from over 100 companies. Here at the Congress, we will discuss nothing less than the future of rails and give new and vital impulses for the growth of our economies. And please have in mind the connective tagline of this Congress, which is One World, One Rail. And now I would like to invite the first person on stage today is Hubert, Jeneral. He is the founder and the organizer of this event. The investor and business developer is a strategic consultant and CEO of the company PPV. And I'm delighted to welcome him here on stage and to ask him to speak the first official opening words to us.
Okay. Ein herzliches
A very cordial welcome to the first Railway Congress here in Vienna. I particularly welcome the Deputy Minister of Transport of the Republic of Austria, Andreas Reichhardt, the Deputy Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Tokarev, the State Secretary of the Ministry of Transport and Construction.
Hope she found the way very quick. Then we have the Directeur Général de UIC, the Union Internationale des Chemins de Fer, Monsieur Jean-Pierre Loubinoux. Bienvenue. Und natürlich den Hausherrn und den Präsidenten.
And of course, also the host and president of the Chamber of Commerce of Austria, Dr. Harald Mahrer. I also welcome the delegation of the ÖBB, headed by the President of the Supervisory Council, Hubert, and Franz Bauer, the CEO of ÖBB Infrastructure. The extensive delegation of Russian Railways, headed by Oleg Belozerov. The delegation from the Saudi State Railways, headed by Pasha Al-Malik. The Chinese delegation from the CCCC, headed by the chairman, Mr. Huan Li. And last but not least, also the delegations from Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Korea, Israel, India, Italy, Estonia, Lithuania, Tajikistan, Vietnam, and of course also our neighbors from German railways, the Hungarian railways, the Slovak railways, the Slovenian railways, and of course also from Switzerland.
Long-standing strategic advisor working here in the heart of Europe. It became clear to me some time ago that there was a gap in the many rail conferences to discuss an overall opportunity to better connect ourselves globally across land. In organizing this Congress, I set out to fill this gap because truly believe that by better connecting some of the world's largest economies and economic blocks across long distances by rail, everyone involved will benefit and genuine economic growth and follow as a sure as night follow day. We have worked to create a Congress that provides positive impulses for the future of long-distance rail. However, we also set up to provide a platform to discuss better cross-border system integration. We were much encouraged as we organized this by authoritative research that foresees convergence towards a global rail system with a maximum degree of interoperability, as well as a global railway supply market. From this moment on, no railway entity or project should see itself as a purely national enterprise, but instead as a part of a global fabric. We all need to lose the traditional industry and political constraints in order to obtain the greatest value for each strand of this global fabric. Short-sightedness imposes expensive tender processes as well as the offers that is possible for industry to make, sometimes contribute to inhibiting enormous economic benefits. In this digital age, we want to provide a platform now and in the future which addresses this. In this sense, it's my great pleasure for me as the lead organizer of this event to welcome each and every one of you to this ambitious very first International Railway Congress to be held here in Vienna. The International Railway Congress 2019 has turned out to be the largest global business gathering of this kind for senior managers of all railway companies and major related industries, for governments, for suppliers, for investors and for customers. With senior delegations not only from Central Europe and from our own governments, but also from Korea, Arabia, Eurasia and the Far East, including China. New opportunities over these 2 days will become clear for everyone present here, both to see and to take with both hands. This meeting will be part of a series of meetings and congresses over the next 3 years. I deeply thank our sponsors for joining us on this journey, as without them, none of this would be possible. The objective of this and for future international railway congresses is not only to promote international rail transport and interoperability at a global level, but also to address the current as well as predict the future challenges for global rail transportation and its integration. As a former leader in the automotive industry that put cars on the road, I now foresee a golden future for long-distance rail. Breaking down geopolitical barriers for 2 days, we will discuss how we can improve the efficiency of international freight and passenger rail traffic, and to make the rail transport even more attractive to the logistic players and gain environmental benefits for us all. We will look at the increasing role of digital technologies. We will explore developing the transit potential of neglected existing international transport corridors across the vast land masses that already connect us. And we will do all of this by taking another look of further harmonizing legal and technical regulation of rail transport to make procurement easier. Finally, we will look at how this future can be, and already it's financed. Let us be ambitious. Let us think over these 2 days well beyond our borders and our comfort zones. It is fitting that we meet in Austria, which has a historic role as a center of long-distance trading routes and which now has a chance to return once more to be a bridge and a gateway to Asia. We hope this conference will do nothing less than to fill you with enthusiasm for our future. Thank you for all coming, and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Jeneral. The next person on stage I would like to invite is Harald Mahrer, not only the host of this building, but also the president of the Austrian Wirtschaftskammer. Please welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. Dear ministers, excellencies, representatives of all the international delegations, especially our friends from Russia, Saudi Arabia and China, but also all the other delegations, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for us to host the International Railway Congress 2019, this year by far the largest business meeting of its kind. And we are truly honored to have so many important international guests today. Not only including managers of railway companies and their related industries, but also international decision makers and especially policy makers, which is important for the railway services around the globe, from Europe and Asia. Thank you all for coming to Vienna, an important network hub, as Hubert Jeneral already pointed out, and to debate and discuss the future of railways. I brought along a few thoughts with me for this opening. First one, railways play an important role in the mobility of people and goods. The future of mobility is one of the key challenges ahead around the globe. Transport enables economic growth and is essential for a competitive economy, nowadays and also in the future. And railways are a core component of the transport system all around the globe, regardless if it's long-distance transport or maybe in the future with more mobility concepts showing up, maybe also for short-term distance transportation, which is currently carried out by more automotive vehicles and lorries. Austria's railway and the railway industry provide stimulus for economic growth, not only in this region, but globally. And not only for infrastructure services, but also for employment. Even though we are a very small country on the global landscape, for the railway industry, we are indeed a global player. As you know, Austria has the 4th highest number of inventors for railway-related patents, and over the last years, a share of nearly 9% of all railway patents publications worldwide involved Austrian inventors. It's quite a number. And Austria ranks 5th with respect to experts in the category railway vehicles and associated equipment. And we have the highest railway-relevant experts per capita all around the globe. So for us, that's only natural that today and tomorrow we will be hosting this Congress. So let's go straight to the topic, ladies and gentlemen. We know well-developed international transport corridors are the backbone of promoting rail transport at a global level. Economic growth in Asia and Russia is leading to increased freight volumes to Central Europe. Since railways can prove their attractiveness, especially for long distances, well-developed international corridors for coping with transport volumes are of uttermost importance. The Austrian Federal Economic Chamber therefore welcomes the efforts to create a direct railway connection from Asia to the very center of Europe by extending the existing broad gauge line from Košice to the Twin City region Vienna, Bratislava. From Austria, currently, maybe no one knows, but this is a fact, 2/3 of the world's population can be reached by land. This is enormous potential for railway services. A big opportunity, a big business opportunity, so to say. A logistics terminal for the broad gauge railway in Vienna region, including a logistics center, could hold enormous potential for the Austrian economy and all our business partners, and could establish the Vienna region as a central logistic hub in Europe. If it were possible to add ancillary services at this location, the value added in Austria could be significantly increased. The broad gauge railway offers an alternative to maritime shipping from the Far East and could shift transport volumes to the railway sector. However, the question of financing are also important in this context. Under no circumstances can the public sector or the local railway companies be solely taxed for the necessary investments. That is quite clear. It is very important to secure financing via public-private partnerships, models that we already very usefully brought to be activated in the past, or other alternative financing models that we could use nowadays. Furthermore, Austrian investments must be secured in the long term. And in addition to the increasing trade volumes between China and Europe, the importance of the broad gauge system is also increasing due to the Chinese initiative for a new Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road, or Belt and Road Initiative, a vision mirroring the ancient Silk Road by means of major infrastructure investments throughout Eurasia and Africa. Its core infrastructure investments consist of the construction or modernization of ports, railway networks and motorways, gas and oil pipelines, as well as information and communication technology. The investment initiative by China, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe and Central Asia, will contribute to the creation of a so-called Eurasian economic area. This will increase infrastructure connectivity within Eurasia and reduce the cost of intra-Eurasian trade by establishing new transport routes. Let us look at the numbers. The expansion of the broad gauge system will make it possible to shorten the transport time between China and Europe for rail freights by up to 20 days compared to maritime freight. This is highly competitive, my friends. And apart from this important expansion, efficient connections to the Mediterranean port as a link to the new Silk Road are also necessary for the establishment of well-functioning transport systems. Companies based in Austria and its eastern neighbor countries can gain access to new markets, as we all know here in this room, and resources along the new Silk Road, as well as glean new opportunities for cooperation with Chinese and local partners. Sectors for cooperation are, for example, connectivity, like the construction of infrastructure, logistics, sustainable technology, industrial suppliers, tourism, and financial services as well. However, for the success of the initiative, cooperative partnerships and equal opportunities for all companies involved are essential. This is about fairness in a joint project. The Austrian Federal Economic Chamber and Advantage Austria, our international business development arm, are offering assistance, including contacts, advice, and events on the Silk Road, all along the whole Silk Road. We are currently active, and which will help open doors for Austrian companies to be successful in the relevant market, but also fostering the ties between international business partners. Let me come to my last thought. Last but not least, I want to point out that digitization is a key to competitiveness, also in the railway sector. I am very happy that the important topic of digitization is being addressed in a strategic session, as I know it is session number 3 today as well. Digitization is creating new links between models of transport and previously separated business sectors. It is a base for creating intelligent, multimodal transport system and improving the efficiency of international rail traffic. Technological advancements like improved interoperability or modern train control system must therefore be exploited in the rail sector, much more than they already being exploited today. And we shall not forget, the use of AI, artificial intelligence, is already in the industry's focus too. So, we must provide incentives at both the national and international level to support our companies in their digitization efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, friends from all around the globe, the mere fact that so many of you today are present illustrates the importance of this Congress as a platform for cross-border cooperation and the exchange of views. It also offers a great opportunity to bring together railway companies and the railway industries from all around the globe with policymakers from all around the globe, which is important to promote rail transport and to improve interoperability on a global level. I hope you will enjoy the event and your stay over the next days in Vienna, engage in interesting discussions, and use this forum to a solid foundation for great deals in the future. In the end, it's not about only infrastructure, it's also about doing good business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much, Harald Mahrer, for this enlightening welcome speech. He also mentioned a key word that brings us to the next welcome speaker. He said policymakers, and it's one thing that I want to tell you is that the Congress gathers not only international political representatives, but of course also some from Austria. So therefore I'm delighted to announce that we have a representative from the Austrian Ministry of Transport here with us. And the third welcome speech this morning will come from Andreas Reichhardt, the Deputy Minister of Transport. Thank you very much.
Exzellenzen,
Excellencies, dear friends of national and international railway community, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to see you here so numerously, to welcome you all, not only on my own behalf, but also on behalf of Federal Minister Norbert Hofer. Today's conference, today and tomorrow, will draw a wide arc from infrastructure planning to the implementation of railway projects, the effects of digitalization, financing models, large-scale infrastructure projects, the new geopolitical developments in the field of international infrastructure projects such as One Belt, One Road initiative from China, or the wide gauge project 1520 from Russia. All these will be objects of presentations. All presentations, discussions, however, have one thing in common. It's all about the upgrading and promotion of infrastructure, which constitutes an asset for society. Jobs will be created and economic growth is promoted. We can also learn from history that investment in infrastructure has always proved a boon for all citizens. The millennia-old stories of the development of transport routes, such as the old Silk Road, all this proves that a transport infrastructure provides a key backbone for any international link of economic and a cultural kind. It is the objective of the new Silk Road from the European perspective to ensure an ecological and efficient link between the most two important economic areas in the world, that is, Europe and Asia. An exchange from which both sides stand to gain. Historically speaking, the old Silk Road was a network of caravan roads whose main route linked the Mediterranean to China, central China, via land. As in the past, an efficient traffic infrastructure is necessary to ensure affluence and wealth. The new Silk Road, however, will be rail-bound. Currently, 95% of the freight volume between Asia and Europe are transported via sea. And this takes between 30 to 35 days. And this, of course, is critical for some high-quality goods. It's too long. Now, if we look at the transit time from China to Western Europe via rail, It's currently 15 days. This is already a competitive advantage that we need to step up because railways offer safe and more environmentally friendly than all other means of transport. So from our political perspective, the railway system is well suited, best suited for transports from Asia to Europe. It's the most ecologically friendly one, and it makes most business sense. Now let me just say a few words about the importance of railway transport for the countries along the Silk Road and the wide gauge project. The economic performance of Europe and Asia will increase sharply. OECD forecasts that the gross national product of China will double by 2030. It will be less ambitious perhaps in Europe, but Europe is going to grow economically as well. And of course, our economic growth will be commensurate with that of our Eastern partners. Trade streams are very important. Goods such as ores, industrial machinery, consumer goods, vehicles will be traded more and more in the future. Business to business, business to consumer enterprises are aware of the necessity of railway transport as the transport route of the future. In order to cope with the challenges of the future, we need a new, efficient link between Europe and Asia. Railway transport is very important, especially for landlocked countries such as Austria. For landlocked countries, efficient and affordable transport routes are really the most important basis of their economic success. Other landlocked countries on the road between Asia and Europe are likely to gain as well. Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, or Azerbaijan. All these countries will benefit from these infrastructure corridors because they will be linked to them, and thus these countries will be linked to the Western markets. Russia and Europe too will grow closer together through these transport corridors. It's very important to work together on an equal footing. This development must not be a one-way road. A key prerequisite for smooth railway transport is a uniform availability and operation of trains from China, Russia to Austria. This is based on the functionality of freight traffic and taking account of national rules and standards. This must be ensured. The cooperation of governments and railway operators along these infrastructure routes will contribute to the efficiency increase of transcontinental railway transport traffic. In this context, Austria and its enterprises offer the most modern European know-how. It's the objective of Austria to curb the negative effects of transport, especially with a view to the climate goals. At the same time, we want to offer a wide range of high-quality transport services. This is, of course, a conflict between objectives, between mobility on the one hand and the containment of negative effects of traffic. But this can only be achieved through suitable measures in the field of railway upgrading. Austria is not yet located along the Silk Road or the wide gauge project, but we're working on it, and I'm sure that we will succeed when the wide gauge project from Košice in Slovakia will be extended to Bratislava in Vienna. And this cooperation with our neighbors and Russia and Ukraine is very important for us. In connection with the existing 1520 railway network, transport from Asia will arrive at the center of Europe without additional costs. By upgrading this wide gauge system, will result in a transport corridor that is longer than 11,000 kilometers. More than 30 countries will stand to benefit from this, countries on 2 continents. The planned traffic hub is situated at the center of the 3 most important pan-European corridors and offers an effective access to European roads and inland navigation. The biggest Austrian goods transport enterprises, Rail Cargo Group, is already among the top 3 logistics enterprises of Europe in the railway sector. And we are experiencing and planning major increases in this field. 2 years ago, 60 trains of rail cargo went to China. Last year it was 400, and for this year, more than 600 trains from Europe to China planned. This illustrates the dynamic development in this field. At the end, I would like to summarize that it is really emphasized by way of summary that it's very important to organize events such as this today. It's very important to talk together at political level, at the operators level, at the company level, to discuss in order to shape the future. And the forum such as this is extremely well suited, not only to discuss the future, but also to shape it. Therefore, I would like to especially thank the organizers of this conference for putting this conference together here in Vienna. And I would like to wish this event a great success. I'm convinced that there will be many constructive talks, and I'm already looking forward to the preparations for the conference next year. I'm convinced that what we are experiencing today is just the beginning of a series of very successful conferences in the field of infrastructure planning in the railway sector between Europe and Asia. Thank you very much for your attention.
For the short breakout of the translation, simultaneously translation, I think everything is all right. I hope you can hear well again. So for every implementation of an idea, you need partners. And the speakers we present you this morning are also the result of great partnerships that find a conclusion somehow in this Congress. And one of the central partners of this international conference is the International Union of Railways that had a great impact on the formation of this Congress. The UIC has 194 members across 5 continents and will celebrate its 100th birthday, I think, in 3 years. To us will speak now the General Director of UIC. Please welcome with me Jean-Pierre Loubinoux.
Danke sehr. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear colleagues and friends. I'm very happy, dear Hubert, that I could have myself and UIC the opportunity to contribute to this exceptional first conference on global rail here in Vienna. My few opening remarks could be titled, "How can smart connectivity be at the service of smart mobility between smart cities on smart corridors. So let's be smart together. You mentioned UIC, thank you very much, which mission since 1921 is, among others, to represent the entire world railway community, to harmonize and standardize operation, maintenance, and service processes, to federate research and innovation dynamics, to promote a railway vision and its social and economic added value across the world, but also to anticipate the future trends and innovations that would be the basis for the future of the railway industry. UIC has supported and contributed to the development and implementation of all major railway projects and standards for close to a centenary now. But today, in this 21st century, we are facing, once again, a new industrial revolution. The fourth one, the digital revolution. After the first revolution with the steam engine and metallic structures, the second one with electric power, the third one with IT, we are now facing three new paradigms. We are in a world that has to go from a philosophy of possess to a philosophy of access. We need to find a better balance between individual liberty and collective benefits. We have to go from self-centered habits to open ecosystems. In this context, what about transportation? Well, transportation has precisely to go from mobility to accessibility. Transportation is becoming an optimized way to access a succession of space and time slots with different modes. In this century, rail has indeed to be seen as the backbone of a new integrated mobility chain. As I usually say to all my 200 members, we are all CICICOMs. We are sustainable, integrated, connected, international chain links of mobility. The main key words for a win-win strategy for these transport modes together to be successful is what I summarize in the 5 I's. The first I is obviously infrastructure. You need infrastructure to move anything from electrons to trains. Infrastructure needs, especially rail infrastructure, needs a lot of rail investments, which needs a lot of innovation, which needs a lot of intelligence, basically coming from all of us, but also from the younger generation and the new startups involved in rail. And all of this in a context of integration. After interoperability and intermodality, we need now integration to cross all borders, but not only technical integration. We need also physical, modal, legal, and cultural. But no strategy will ever work without a solid and concrete plans of actions. And this is what I summarize in the 5 C's. The first C is obviously the client. We work for markets and clients. The second C, which is the biggest challenge in this 21st century, is the city. The bigger and bigger city. 43 cities in the next 10 years will be in the world more than 25 million inhabitants. And 2 billion inhabitants will be urbanized in the next 10 years. Which means that the third action is center or centers. Where do we put the center of gravity of these mega cities? And then when we have done this, corridors to link, of course, and this is one of the thematic of this conference during 2 days. And the fifth one is complementarity to mirror the integration strategy. And this in the new context of big data and connectivity, in which everything we do must be thoughtfully designed and meaningfully connected. In this context, we obviously need to be working more rapidly, to be more relational, more reactive, and more responsible. This is what I call the 4R attitude. Rapid. Rapid as technology called information and transformation cycles require to go faster and faster. But the notion of speed itself is becoming multiple. We can, of course, accelerate movement, but we can also accelerate time. This is reactivity. And we can accelerate data treatment. This is connectivity. Reactivity precisely as the evolution and the needs of the markets are changing, and the answers in terms of mobility is speeding up increasingly. And this is generating really a difficulty for our railway industry, used to have long cycle decisions, mainly because of their scopes of investments, their low return on investment, and the political importance to keep up with a long-term vision. Relational. It seems obvious that we must open the traditional silo working mode toward new partners and open up to the digital ecosystems, as I said, such as startups and universities. And this is the philosophy in 3 words of UIC: members to open, to share, and to connect. Responsible. Responsible, since the mobility of goods and persons is the key to exchanges and therefore of the social and economic development in the world. But we have to keep in mind that the transport sectors, all modes combined, is contributing to the 25% of CO2 emissions in the world, and rail only to 1% of this 25%. But let's not forget as well that in the next 10 years, the CO2 emissions will be growing by 300% everywhere, which means that the development of the transportation system has to be managed in a complementary approach, interfaced and interactive, so that it would efficiently contribute to the sustainable development goals. In this new world of big data, connectivity, blockchain, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, IoTs, 5G, there will be 25 operators using 5G before the end of this year. Cloud computing, quantum computing, which is representing a market of $50 billion every year. The expectations of these digital inputs on our business lie in 2 simple points. One is productivity. Productivity of the operation, via a better optimization of capacities, with a more standardized approach of both signaling and telecom systems, and also with an optimization of the maintenance processes, a little bit like in medicine. We have to evolve from a reactive to a predictive to a prescriptive approach. The second is services, with higher performance of new services thanks to the IoTs and the connected systems. You know, by 2030, more than 100 billion IoTs will be disseminated all around the world, and China will be the leader of this. This will generate an increase worldwide of $15 trillion of GDP. So there is their opportunities. But all these evolutions will have to keep in mind 2 fundamental aspects. The one which is as fundamental as the birth of railways, which is safety and security. And they go now together in tandem. And security goes now with cybersecurity and the approach on risks like what we call the CBRM, the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear risks. The second one is to preserve human intelligence from the potential predominance of machine. Everything that will be not digitalized will have an even more precious value, and this is why I prefer to artificial intelligence, AI, the notion of intelligence assistance, IA. And speaking of the human impact, the first software, let's never forget that was invented in the world, was language for the transmission of ideas. And before IoTs, the first web of transmission was IOPs, Internet of Persons. And this is why, if I may, dear Hubert, I would add one word to this: one world, one rail, one vision is one family. Thank you very much for your very kind attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this enlightening and positive speech, Mr. Loubinoux. Just a short note now in between, I would just like to hand over stage and microphone to Vladimir Tokarev. He is Deputy Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, and he will hold the last welcome speech of this morning. Mr. Tokarev, we are very happy to have you here.
Большое, уважаемые дамы и господа, перед началом своего выступления.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So I would now like to first read out the greetings from the minister in Russia. I welcome the participants of the Congress in 2019, One World, One Rail. The development of the European railway area is important for the cooperation in the entire world. Green technologies, digitization, all of these are major challenges for the railway sector. I hope that we will have the opportunity at this conference to discuss all of these points, and I'm convinced that cooperation and deepening our cooperation between the various railway systems will be a benefit for us all. This Congress and this forum will help us establish useful contacts, and therefore I wish you a great and fruitful day. Maxim Akimov, the Deputy President of Ministers of the Russian Federation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Minister for Railways in Russia, I welcome the delegates to this conference in Vienna. For me, it is a great honor to participate in this event to debate all the current issues on logistics and transport. Initiatives, mainly the Chinese initiative One Belt, will take center stage in our discussion. The cooperation between many countries here, I'm absolutely convinced, is possible, but only within an open dialogue and an open cooperation. Our discussion should focus on discussing new ideas, starting new initiatives on economic cooperation on a global scale. Railways today is in direct competition with sea transport and roads. Long distances and transporting goods over long distances definitely needs rail as the means of first choice. We are weather independent, which is confirmed by the fact that railway service is very much in demand by many logistics companies, both in Europe and in Asia. In 2017, sales augmented to more than 35,000 containers per year in 2017. In the past, this was a one-way road between Asia and Europe, but now we are also seeing TEU tonnage growing from Europe to Asia. When we look at the context of the modern economy, we see that more and more goods are bought online. By 2021, this market will account for $4.5 billion. Railway carriers therefore need to be able to live up to these figures and be ready. Austria is a prime partner for Russia in this area. I should like to recall that foreign trade sales are growing. In 2017, they accounted for almost $2 billion, and exports to Austria as a whole accounted for $3 billion. The situation is similar when we look at Austrian exports into Russia. Again, we have about $2.5 billion. $5.8 billion are predicted for 2019. With Austria's potential not yet fully exploited. We must change the situation. Austria must change the structure of its imports from Russia because 86% consist of oil and gas only. This must be clearly expanded. From Austria, we receive machines, mechanical engineering, metallurgical products, and agricultural products. In 2018, the dominating products were machines, pharmaceuticals, and in the long-term perspective, Austria will definitely be a key partner for Russia. We need to set new impulses for new merchandise, and we want to transport more goods to Austria by rail. As a holding, we have set up partnerships in Europe. Now, regarding the initiatives within Russia itself, for us, priority is given to Wide Gorge, Košice, Vienna, Bratislava, Vienna. Here we'll set up logistics centers which will make railway freight transport highly competitive. The harmonization and unification of the document basis and the legal basis will help us handle and speed up the transport of goods with simple structures. Even a small time gap can trigger major delays in the logistics chain, and I believe that optimizing this task will be a major goal for the Russian Ministry of Transport, together with all the partner countries along the Chinese One Belt corridor. Integrating all rail systems signifies the acceleration and digitization of these systems. We have now achieved a speed of 1,000 kilometers per 24 hours, so 1,000 kilometers per day for transports between China and Russia. We have a major potential considering that air transport is bigger on the tonnage base, which is why we need to achieve a major breakthrough also regarding high-speed links between Asia and Europe for both cargo and passenger transport. In addition to this development, and along the development and promotion of the cooperation between the European Union and the Eurasian area, we must then implement joint projects. We must finally create and build a network. Once this network will be finished, we will have a 50,000 kilometer long network for transcontinental cargo transport. In the end, we will be able to deliver cargo from China to Europe within just 2 or 3 days instead of 10 or 14 days at present. So we can multiply speed by 5 times. The Wide Gorge Railway 2020 and the European Gorge width complement each other. For the citizens and people in Europe, this means new jobs, additional revenue from taxes, and, of course, also an optimization of our life and well-being, new infrastructure for the transit countries, for China, for Asia. That also means economic growth, creation of jobs, development of infrastructure. When we look at the global trends, I would like to point out to the delegates that the tonnage between Europe and Asia will grow in any case. It is just the question of how high the percentual share of rails will be in this mix, in this trend. At this conference, I would like to define the conditions for the upcoming initiatives, because here we do have highly professional experts and specialists from our industry. This initiative will definitely benefit cooperation and the work between us, and I wish all delegates and participants a very successful Congress. Thank you so much.